everyone. Welcome to the Jefferson Park Neighborhood Association Neighborhood Meeting. I'm glad everyone was able to make it. We have a large agenda for this evening, so we have a lot of good information, but we will go ahead and start with our committee reports. So Ms. Gabrielle, would you start with the treasurer's report, please?
Hi, absolutely. So we had a very, very successful yard sale. I'm happy to report. So we split it up so that part of the proceeds went back into JPNA and part of them went to the Lonnie Maynard Fund. And so basically anything that we sold merchandise wise, so like our flags and our t-shirts, those went back to the JPNA. Anything extra, like, so for example, like the cost of the yard sale itself went back to JPNA, but then anything extra we made on top of that, we donated to the Lonnie Maynard Fund. So I'm happy to say that we were able to donate $399 to the Lonnie Maynard Fund as part of our proceeds from the yard sale. So that is really awesome. And we still have plenty of flags left. We also still have a few t-shirts. Please feel free to reach out to me or to any of the board members for more questions on that. And we also, so let me go ahead and tell you how much money we have left. So our checking account is $4,433.54. And our savings account, which is where we keep our Lonnie Maynard Fund, and obviously this is ongoing, is $610.34. So things are looking pretty good in the land of Jefferson Park.
Yay, thank you very much. And thank you for everyone who participated in the yard sale, and also for Joel Tucker Todd and In Town Realty for sponsoring our signs for that. And then I will turn it over to our hospitality. Is that Chrissy, you're gonna do that, or Dominique?
I'm gonna do it.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're still delivering welcome baskets on a monthly basis. So if you're a new neighbor in the neighborhood and you're on the call, just feel free to send us an email. I'll put the email address in the chat. Send an email to the hospitality email address with your address, so we'll know to deliver you a welcome basket. If you know of a new neighbor that's recently moved in, you can also send an email for that neighbor. Just please try to include their address in that email so we'll know where to deliver the basket to. If you're a business in the neighborhood, we're trying to spotlight our local businesses. So you can also send an email to the hospitality email address, and we can include items in the basket for your business. And lastly, we want to give a shout out to Tom Trimble and Joel Tucker Todd for sponsoring our welcome baskets. We greatly appreciate the donation. So just want to give a shout out. And that's all I have. Okay.
Thank you very much. And I'm looking through the participants, and we have some distinguished guests with us this evening, so I will be conscious of their time. It looks like we have Council Member Thomas Callaway, Council Member Renee, and Mayor Holiday Ingram with us today. So of course, I will give Mayor an opportunity if she wants to speak. And thank you so much for attending our meeting. You don't have to speak by any means. I just wanted to make sure that we gave you the opportunity if you would like to.
I'll be brief. Thank you so much for the invite to be here, and thank you for all that you do for our community. Like, I'm a big proponent of teamwork makes the dream work, and the amazing community spirit and just vibe and all of the activities and things of the Jefferson Park Neighborhood Association. I really appreciate you, and I really appreciate all that you do to connect with your neighbors and create your own little microcosm of an oasis of where equity and inclusion and people are accepted and loved and valued, and where there's a lot of hospitality. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. And Councilmember Callaway or Councilmember Renee, we'll turn it over to you guys. Thank you.
Sure. Did you want just a hello, or did you want us to talk about the goings on of the city?
You can absolutely tell us the goings-ons of the city.
Okay. And I'm surprised the mayor didn't mention this. I think probably the most important thing that has happened recently is the most. The mayor was, and maybe she left it to me because she doesn't like to brag on herself. She's very humble that way. But this was a lift that has taken really 5 years in the making. But I mean, the last 3 years have been nose to the grindstone. The mayor's been up at the Capitol. And for those of you who might not know what a most is, we have different types of sales tax revenue. We have the lost, which is your local option sales tax. That's when you purchase something, a portion of that sales tax comes to the city of East Point. We spend that on things like police, fire, sidewalks, parks, roads, all the wonderful things that you depend on for the city to operate. The TSPOS is a transportation local option sales tax, and that is specifically used for roads, sidewalks, and transportation bike trails. So for instance, the new path project, was made only possible because of the TSPOS. So that's that additional 3/4 of a penny that you pay in sales tax that goes specifically to East Point, but specifically for transportation projects. For many of you may or may not know, when I got on council, we have an aging water, stormwater, and sewer infrastructure. It's quite often where we have water line breaks that, long story short, we own Sweetwater Creek. It's, I think, about 16 miles of pipe that was laid in the 1950s. That pipe was supposed to last 50 to 75 years, and it is now we're approaching the lifespan of that. The pipes in Ward A and Ward B, most of those are 75 years and older. Ward C and D are all over 50 years old. Long story short is there has not been a lot of pipes that have been replaced in the past. And so when the mayor and then myself and Councilwoman Renee, we got on council, there was a lot of deferred maintenance. We have approximately $53 million in deferred maintenance that needs to be done over the next 5 years. And approximately that is like absolutely dire. And we have about $200 million, if I'm not mistaken, the mayor may correct these numbers, that is stuff that needs to be done over the next 5 to 10 years. The reality is we are faced with a choice. And the choice is, people have to have clean water. We could either have to raise utilities, and that really would barely impact the cost of this. So we're looking at having to spend a large amount of tax dollars potentially that went to police, fire, parks, and take away from those funds to make up all this deferred maintenance. That's kind of where we were at. And so through hard work, we looked at one of the options, and that option was a most. It's called a municipal option sales tax. And that would be a penny sales tax that is used specifically for water infrastructure. The numbers I heard was that judging by what we get from the TSPOS, and it would be 4 years with the option to renew in 4 years. And judging from what we get, the TSPOS over that 4-year period would be somewhere $25 to $30 million. And the good news on a most versus a price increase is the numbers I've seen, because we have so many hotels and visitors that come to East Point, College Park, and Hapeville, about 27% of that sales tax would be paid by people who live outside of our city. So instead of us as citizens having to burden the full cost, a portion of that would be transferred to people who are visiting our city. Now, what the state legislature agreed to let this be on the ballot. At the end of the day, and I'm not saying which way to vote on it, but what I am saying is those are some of the facts. Those are what we looked at. But at the end of the day, what we have done is allowed the people who live in East Point and go to the ballot box decide whether they would like to pay for our water infrastructure through the most, which is using a sales tax, or whether we would have to pay for it ourselves through the utility or our property tax. And that's basically the decision that will be out there. Because at the end of the day, we just have a lot of infrastructure and that has not been upgraded, and it's past time. We are looking at, because we've had so many emergency repairs, it has pretty much depleted our cash balance in our water fund. At one point, we were down to almost $0 in our water fund, which means we would have to use taxpayer dollars to make up that shortfall through property tax. So those are the choices we were faced with. So that will be the decision that you guys will get to vote on and get to decide. So that's number one. Number two, the big's goings on, and I don't know if we mentioned this last time, the development up on Norman Berry, and between Norman Berry and West and Cleveland Avenue is moving forward. One of the things they came and presented as part of the Airtropolis Alliance was looking at the next T-SPLOST funding would be adding a spur on the trail that would connect the bridge over the MARTA station to the trail on Norman Berry. So that would allow people to get up to the MARTA station bridge and then be able to cross over into downtown instead of having to use the path and walk all the way down to the bridge, then back up to Main Street and back around. So that would actually be able to connect Jefferson Park to our downtown. Of course, our long-term hope is after this development is the city would develop the commons, making sure that we have good development, great things for people to do and see and be able to live on both sides of the train tracks. So that is a big part of it. It's not been solidified, but the developer is in talks with the YMCA about potentially having a multi-use facility there, a YMCA multi-use facility on that site. So there will be a real they're looking to make that health and wellness be the focus of that development. So it would be traditional doctor's offices. The Morehouse School of Medicine is there. So there would be offices, restaurants that are nice but affordable is another big thing. And the mayor has been a huge advocate and as a member, Market 166, they've offered them free space for up to 3 years. So and utilities. And so Market 166 is trying to make that happen. So potentially having a small health-oriented food store there as well. So that is continuing to move forward. You should see some communication from the city on what you would like to, like some polls, things along those lines on what you guys would like to see included in the T-SPLOST. And that the connector to the right there by the Dairy Queen would connect up and then across, and that would add accessibility to our downtown, the other side of downtown, to neighborhoods such as Jefferson Park, East Washington. So those are probably two of the largest items. Oh yes, as well. The mayor again and has been integral in this, but the PSE Partnership for Southern Equity, they have worked for the last, I believe, almost 2 years now. Community engagement. They did the Equity Leadership Academy, where they and I think Josh was on. I saw him earlier. There you are. He went through that, but so they have got a draft of their equity and inclusion plan, and they are looking for feedback and public comments. So if you have an opportunity, you can get that and look it over and give feedbacks. I know Councilwoman Renee probably has some stuff to add, so I don't want to take everything, because the truth of the matter is, myself and Councilwoman Renee, and of course the mayor, but you know, she and I, Councilwoman Renee and I, being your ward council members, I know sometimes y'all see me, sometimes you see Councilwoman Renee, but the truth is that when I'm off doing something, it means Councilwoman Renee is off doing something, and you will very rarely see tonight we're both here, but you will very rarely see us both in the same space because she and I coordinate and we make sure that we're covering our ward diligently. And so we kind of split up the duties to make sure that we can cover as much ground as possible. So she has worked quite diligently on these projects as well, but I know she has probably some more updates herself. Maybe talking about policing cameras, maybe what's going on in East Washington across the way. That I don't know if y'all been over there in a while, but I'm going to turn it over to her. And also,
before you turn it over, talk about CORE real quick about coming to.
Oh yeah. Thank you, Councilwoman Renee. So she and I and the mayor too, but you know, we've been working on vaccines. You know, first it was you know, masks and social distancing. Then we were doing food. Now we're pushing really hard, and then testing, and now we're having to push really hard to get access to vaccines. But as many of you may know, every Thursday and Friday in the city, Thursday at Impact Church, which is right up on corner of Sylvan and Oakley, they do approximately 200 vaccinations. Walk-ups are welcome. On Friday at East Point First Malibu in the downtown near the MARTA station, they also do vaccines there. We are starting to do some one-off events with CORE. So when we do city events, our goal is to make sure that there's a tent set up that people can walk up and get vaccinated. We will be doing one at the mobile home community coming up on May the 29th. It will be a Spanish speaking clinicians, and we will be advertising in Spanish. The sign up will be in Spanish. And then the Housing Authority will be doing one at Martell Homes as well, down on Norman Berry. And we'll be advertising that and really targeting, of course, folks who are working, living in within the Housing Authority communities, but also students at Park Lane Elementary. So in those families. So we'll be all out PR blitz, if you will, marketing blitz, encouraging people to get vaccinated and doing our best to make sure that people who may have transportation issues, and we'll be doing them on Saturdays usually, or trying to work in before or after work hours, because we know that there's people out there who want to get vaccinated, but may have a transportation issue and can't just zip away for 30, 45 minutes at lunch or whatever, because they have to take public transportation. And, you know, it takes them half a day or a whole day just to get that done. So our goal is to thank you, Joshua, but get that as close as possible. And also, as Joshua pointed out, you don't need a license with CORE, you just need an ID. So you don't have to have a Georgia state driver's license. You can use a passport from another country. They don't, you know, your immigration status is not important, and so some folks may have a challenge with that. But the reality is, no matter who you are, if you live in our community, we value you and we want you to be able to get vaccinated and have access to health care. That's just, to me, just basic human decency and human rights. So we're really pushing that as well. Councilwoman Renee, you're muted. Did we lose her?
I'm not sure if we did or not.
Councilwoman Renee, are you there? Oh, saw our picture blink.
I did too. Well, real quick, Councilmember Callaway, I just want to thank you publicly for always being at our meetings. And I will be sending out a link for the Southern Equity. I've gotten an email from them, so I'll be sending that out to the neighborhood via our newsletter. And then I know I was at a council meeting via Zoom recently, and there was a discussion about the spam calls for everyone trying to buy our homes. is there anything that we can do from a Jefferson Park standpoint to kind of help send out the word on that, to kind of help prevent anyone from getting caught up in that spam?
Actually, I know Councilwoman Renee has answered this, and she actually just texted me. I think you may have her muted, so she can't unmute herself.
Oh, I thought I had everyone unmuted.
There you go. So, and I know that's been something that she's been working on.
Okay.
You know, people, yeah, we get them too, and you know, of course, you know, we want to protect our seniors. But Councilwoman Renee, did you have something on that?
Yeah, we have been working on that quite a bit. And we've also trying our best to report those, because those are spam calls, soliciting calls, unwanted soliciting calls. I get about 2 or 3 a week. And then they're gotten sophisticated, and now they're texting now. So they're stopped calling a lot, and they're texting, and they're also emailing. So we're trying to figure out, well, I guess, you know, the public records are at the Fulton County Courthouse. So it's easy for them to kind of gather the information and send it through. And it may be just a blanket call through. But what we've done is we've reached out to on the federal level, and asked them if they could please stop these robocalls. And I think a lot of them are robocalling people to see if they could get a buzz, and if people will pick up, and to help us with the spam calls that are coming through. However, it is a slow moving process like the mail. And I don't have any answers, other than I've talked with about 3 people on the phone. And everybody's talking about the urban cities. A lot of the big urban cities are having the same problems. But one thing I did want to discuss too, real quickly, is that the parks are back open now, and also customer service. The window is open. It will be open every day now, and then everybody goes back until the building June 1st for customer care. I noticed on Facebook, and we've been dealing with a lot of issues across the city in reference to customer care, and we want to make sure that we make it right for the residents. And sometimes Carrie Ziegler tags me or sends me a text message to let me know that there's something going on, and we try our best to handle it immediately. If you know of someone who's going through having some difficulties with their utilities, out of work, or impacted by COVID, please don't hesitate to pick up the phone and give us a call. We want to make sure that we're trying to be good neighbors and good stewards to all of our residents here. I think you covered a lot of it. East Washington, we've been doing a lot of work over there. We've been doing a lot of community cleanups throughout the community, especially in East Washington and River Park. Last weekend, River Park did a grand opening for their community garden. It was absolutely awesome. And if you guys ever get a chance, it's on Palm Street. Just ride through and participate, because it's been a long time coming. The community is growing, and the cohesiveness like Jefferson Park has always been real tight. A tight-knit community with welcoming and neighboring. It's just a great place to be. And sometimes River Park in East Washington has lacked some of those characteristics. However, it felt like home. River Park Saturday, with the neighbors coming out, and they were like roasting corn and had watermelon, and just a very good conversation, meeting new people, and it felt really good. So if you guys get an opportunity, I encourage you to extend the bridge over to River Park. I don't think we have anything else other than the fact that we did get some complaints over in Brookdale Park, where people were parking. They couldn't park inside the park, so there was parking by people's mailbox, and somebody knocked a lady's mailbox over in Brookdale, and we were able to address those issues, and we finally got all the parks open. They've been playing pickleball. They call that, what's that game, Thomas?
Pickleball.
Yeah. And so I haven't started yet, but they tell me it's a big hit, and I'm excited about that. So, and that's in Sykes Park. and Sumner Park, some of the parks. So if you ever get a chance, go out and start playing that game. Thank you. I'm not going to hold it up. I think we've answered a lot of your questions. And if you have any other questions for me, I'd like to answer them if we can.
Thank you, Councilmember Renee. I'll wait for Thomas.
The mayor said she likes to, the mayor said she liked it. She has a few words,
Okay.
but she can't unmute herself. And I'm going to mute myself back. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Really quickly, and I knew Councilman Callaway and Renee would cover most everything, but I see a couple questions or comments in the chat regarding utilities and cutoffs and people being cut off when I've received several communications. People had a zero balance, but yet were disconnected, being late. And so the disconnections did resume. We had over $3 million outstanding in accounts receivables for utilities. And so from a budgetary perspective, that resumed. However, there have been a lot of challenges with customer care, the new system. So we transitioned to a new system, and with everything, there's glitches. And so we actually had a conversation about it last night at council meeting. It was the first item on the agenda. And so if you want to go back and look at that, but what I suggested to the city manager, there was someone who shared a concern that they put their payment in the Dropbox on the day that it was due, but then was charged a late fee and was told that it takes 2 to 3 days to process. And so those decisions aren't the residents, it's an operational decision that we made due to the pandemic, but owning what we own. And so in situations like that, I don't believe that a late fee should be charged. And in fact, if it is, when you're pulling the bill out of the Dropbox and posting those payments, I don't know if our system automatically does it, but I even suggested like basically removing those late fees, as well as considering suspending disconnections, at least for the next 2 weeks, as we kind of work through these glitches and get to a place of where staff is back in the, all staff is back for planning and zoning and planning community development and for customer care. Effective June 1st is what the city manager shared last night. And so, as you guys know, our city is a council manager form of government, which means mayor and council are prohibited by charter from getting involved in making directives about day-to-day decisions. Those rest with the city manager, but there's a level of accountability and communication, right? And sharing and making sure that those concerns are being heard and addressed. So know that it's not falling on deaf ears. We do within our ordinance allow payment plans. And so there are other ways to kind of address as we're going through these times, as well as we received grant funding from Fulton County for utilities and rental assistance of about $250,000. When we got the CARES Act funding, we allocated funding for utilities assistance as well. And as we now move forward with the American Rescue Plan, there's going to be additional resources. The federal government has allocated some funding for rent, utilities, and mortgage assistance. The county is receiving $206 million, and a part of their buckets is also those types of supports. And then we will be receiving around just under $11 million as a part of the American Rescue Plan Act. And we'll get 50% upfront and then another 50% 12 months from when we receive that. So know that we are working collaboratively with the state, federal, and county level of government to make sure we're not triplicating efforts, at least with the federal, county, and our local level, but also making sure that we continue to bridge the gaps and be there for residents as we go through this difficult time. I encourage you that if you are having challenges with utilities, or there's issues with the system, like people have said they made payments, but it wasn't posted, like continue to share that with us so that we can continue to share that with management so that we can work through the kinks in this new system, but also make sure that we're prioritizing excellent customer service. You can tell a person no 2 different ways. And one way they might be like, oh, really? Thank you so much. And if you say it another way, they're like angry, right? So we're trying to really have that Chick-fil-A customer service type mentality. I even suggested maybe we should look at providing some level of training and continue to build a capacity. Not that to say that anybody is absolutely doing anything wrong, but we all as professionals invest in our professional development and growth and wanting to support our employees in that way. So I noticed that come in, and I just wanted to bring that up. And again, there was a discussion last night, and the end result is they'll all be back full time 5 days, June 1st. So that's about 2 weeks from now. And I'm hoping even in these 2 weeks, we'll see some changes as well, that will be able to address. I even received a complaint that people were calling, trying to make appointments because we said appointment only, but 12 days later, they didn't have an appointment, right? And I think the person who reached out to me was in Jefferson Park and said she had 9 neighbors that were experiencing the same thing. So that we're listening, we raised it, and that we look forward to some changes and improvements within the recent future, or near future.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. All right, is there anything else from the council member from Madam Mayor before I turn it over? We really appreciate you guys taking the time. I know you guys are busy, so thank you so much for attending our meeting. All right, I will turn it over to Captain Glover. I see he is on the softball field, so thank you for attending.
Yes, hey everybody, Captain Glover here. My 6-year-old just won the championship, and my 12-year-old is trying to win the championship. Awesome. Their rings are huge. It's crazy. We used to get little trophies. Lot going on at the police department. City's been implementing the license plate reader cameras, as we talked about before. Doing a lot of special operations is doing some good work in the area. You may or may not have seen them. I've seen some chatter on social media about it. They served a good search warrant over in the area of Bayard Street last week. They took a lot of guns off the street, a lot of illicit drugs off the street. Doing a lot of work. I don't usually have a whole lot to say in these meetings because at every meeting I give everyone my Facebook name, my phone number, and probably every few days somebody will send me a message and have a question or something, and I like to handle it then, as opposed to waiting for a meeting or anything like that. So, and with that, if anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Come November 8th, I think will be my 25th anniversary. Law enforcement in, I think, 97, I got to East Point. So I was quick to get to the right place. So been doing it a long time, so I should be able to answer your questions. If not, I'll find somebody that can answer it for you.
Well, thank you, and congratulations on the softball win and the 25 years.
Thank you.
All right, it looks like we just have one question in the chat box about the 18-wheelers that are speeding through the neighborhood. Is there anything to give us on that?
I did see somebody said something about 18-wheelers and it flew off the screen, but if you have that happening, I think the person said get the DOT number and also the tag if you can. The tag will be on the front of the vehicle. Of course, don't approach anybody. You can call us, but you can send me a message again when that's happening. And if you get me a DOT number or even a company name, because about 99.9% of the tractor trailers nowadays have GPS. And if we go back and we find that they're riding through the neighborhood illegally, we can go back and cite them. We can contact their company, and they'll be disciplined for that. The one thing you don't want to do as a truck driver is get any tickets whatsoever, because that goes against your record, and you don't have to have that many ticket points as a truck driver to lose your license. So we take that very seriously. And if, again, you can send me a message anytime you snap a picture of the truck or you have any information whatsoever, I can go back and I can look and see if we can track that down.
Awesome, thank you. And I see that Councilmember Renee also put something in the chat box saying the same thing. So we appreciate you guys both being on top of that, and we will definitely start taking some photos and getting some DOT numbers.
Absolutely.
If I could add one more thing around safety, you guys have Ring cameras, the Neighbor by Ring app. Have you guys heard of that? Okay, perfect.
All right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you talking to me, Madam Mayor? Yeah, we're actually a partner with Ring, and it's through Amazon, and I do periodically send out messages in reference to Ring activity. So, say there would be an incident that happened in the area, I can do a geofence around the whole Jefferson Park area and ask for video, and only if you approve it will it send me the video so that we can try to track down maybe some suspects or anything like that. In Heritage Park across the city a couple of weeks ago, we had everything kind of came together. We had a Ring camera video of a black SUV. I went back and looked on the flock cameras, which the city were gracious enough to get us, and we were able to triangulate who that was. I was able to stop the owner and have a chat with him, and now we know who our suspects are. So yeah, we team up with Ring, we team up with Flock, and City Council gets us what we need, and we're able to solve a lot of crimes that way.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
We always appreciate it, and thank you for always being in the meeting. So we know if you have to drop off, and congratulations again. Thank you.
All right, and you can send me a message anytime. Alan Glover is my Facebook. Thank y'all.
All right, so the next person, I was trying to double check to see if we had actually Market 166 was here to talk about their program with Abby Tenenbaum. So I'm not sure. I was trying to look through and see if she was in here. If you are here.
She's here, Barbara.
Okay, good. And she is unmuted, so we can turn it over to her and she can unmute herself. Hopefully. I see her.
There we go.
Yeah.
Hello. And if it's not too much trouble, I know, at least I think our board chair, Lori, is also here. So if it's not too much trouble to also give her the opportunity to unmute, that would be amazing.
I will find her right now.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
Thank you all so much for having us here. Once Lori gets unmuted, actually we'll have Lori kick us off, if that's okay with you, Lori.
I think she's unmuted. Yep.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. What am I supposed to say?
You're supposed to do the kickoff, Miss Lori.
Okay, so Market 166, we have, I think, what is it, 225 members. We have a site search committee, so we're really looking at Buggy Works. We just did a letter of intent we're creating. We have a couple of opportunities, and we're just excited about, what's going to happen. Close to 300, which is like our magic number, because that means that we can start looking for site search and, see what's going on. So I don't know what to say. I thought I was here to just kind of support.
Sorry, Lori. I figured you were.
I'm here to answer.
Amazing. Lori, thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot, but Lori's always done a really good job for me of kind of communicating, I think, so much of the why of Market 166. I don't know, this is my first time joining y'all, so if this is repetitive, I'm sorry, but I'll keep it brief. For those who don't know, well, hello, I'm Abby. I recently joined the board of Market 166 about a month or two ago. And if you're wondering what the heck is Market 166, Lori said a little bit, and I'll say a little bit more in a moment. But I've worked in East Point for a few years now and just moved to East Point back in November. So was really excited to pretty quickly jump on the opportunity to become an owner in Market 166 and get more involved with Market 166. If you're wondering what the heck is Market 166, as Lori alluded to, Market 166 is a community-owned grocery cooperative and shared kitchen. I think many of us here on the on the south side of Atlanta know that there's a lack of consistent, fresh, seasonal, locally sourced food from some of the incredible farmers in our community. And a lot of us are hungry for really good food, and not just food, but also a community space where we can gather and build community around food. And that is what Market 166 will be. We're in the startup phase of our cooperative, which takes a few years. Like most cooperatives don't open their doors for about 5 to 7 years. So this is definitely, it's a community investment, I think is one of the best ways to think about it, especially right now. We've been working on ownership and just kind of laying the land for the last couple of years, and at a really exciting point, like Lori said, getting near a really critical number for our ownership to really start diving in on where do we want to be and where do we want our location to be and what do we want that to look like. I know I personally became an owner of Market 166 because I've seen in other cities the community building power that cooperative and locally owned grocery stores have. I professionally am a community organizer, and I can't tell you how many times I've had so many amazing meetings with community leaders or like small volunteer phone banking sessions at locally owned grocery cooperatives in other places that I've worked. And so very excited from personal experience for that to be coming to our community. I think as Lori was telling me earlier, it's a place that you can eat and meet. And I kind of love the sound of that. And I think that is most of it. It'll be a grocery store. We'll have a shared community kitchen to support some of our amazing local entrepreneurs and other folks who want that space. Cooperatives tend to also offer like classes and other resources that the community needs. So while it's primarily a grocery store and a kitchen, it's also really a space for community building and community organizing. And so I'll stop talking there. I'll send the link to our website in just a moment as well. But yeah, Lori and I are here for questions.
Awesome.
I know a lot of people, I see a lot of very familiar names already that are already owners of Market 166. I see some of my colleagues that are part of the East Point Leaders for Equity. And so I don't know if they want to chime in. Carol Goodson has been assisting us as well on the ownership. We have an ownership committee, we have a site search committee, and we're getting ready to start up with a funding and finance committee so that we can get this ball rolling. We're looking at Buggy Works. Not only is it a beautiful site, it also has a historical significance. So we are looking at that as being a potential site, and we're in the process of communicating with the whoever, with Buggy Works. The other thing is we have a new agricultural, urban agricultural commissioner, Tenisio, and we're excited about that. That's going to involve schools having gardens. Tri-Cities has a culinary arts program. So this is a movement. It's not just a community grocery. We're involving children of all ages and just making this part of, I don't want to say community center, but really that's what it is. We're looking at the entrepreneurial spirit of having that community kitchen where, we can have some startups, some of these young people that want to start, a barbecue sauce or salsa, whatever. We want that to be available for them to have a startup. We have a ton of chefs in East Point. We want to be able to open that up to them as well. We want to have some cooking demonstrations. And also we want to meet the needs of those people that maybe they're not plant-based, but what do you do with kale? What do you do with, those types of things? So having some, hopefully in person with this COVID, kind of lifting a little bit, having some in person-to-person cooking demonstrations. We have a whole bunch of people that sell honey and all kinds. So we want to have this as a place where if you're at the airport, you have an hour, you could take the train right to Buggy Works, enjoy yourself, have good food, come back with fresh preserves and all those types of things. We are in close communication and collaboration with the East Point Farmers Market as some of the people that come and share their wares at the market. And we want to make sure that they are also a part of this movement. And that's pretty much all. I'm excited about it. We need members. I know it's a lot of people that are already members and they're also getting involved. It's plenty of work to do. We're all full-time, working full-time. So we need, help with the website, making sure that we can actually sell things on the website. We have some wonderful people that have just kind of chimed in and helped with working with the developer and those types of things. And so we need more. So not only can you be a member, but we can also share your expertise in making this happen. So thank you so much for allowing us to come and visit. And, I'll open it up to anybody else who wants to talk about it.
Well, I just appreciate you guys both taking the time to be here. I'm excited to be a new owner myself. So I appreciate you guys taking the time again and sharing what you have going. Looking forward to it, because like you said, Abby, I think we're all kind of hungry for some local healthy food. So if anybody, if you guys need anything from JPNA or Jefferson Park, just please feel free to reach out to me, and I appreciate it. All right, does anybody have any questions? All right, well, we will move on to Mr. Robbie Jackson. If you have a report out, sir.
Well, thank you much. Always enjoy meeting with you all. We don't have a whole lot of stuff going on. I mean, stuff at church. We're having our graduate recognition this week and our Memorial Day service the next, and we will be having a big patriotic service on July the 4th. The big thing we have this summer is we're doing our vacation Bible school in the middle of July, and we're going to try to do it outside. I know everybody starts sweating when you hear that July and outside, but we still have a lot of our senior folks, although a lot of them have been vaccinated. We're still concerned about the passing around of the virus. So we're going to try an outside thing. The latest thing that we have done, and this is just for anybody and everybody, on Tuesday morning from 10 to noon, we have a group of ladies, mostly ladies, who meet and crochet and talk about sewing and that kind of stuff. And if you would like to learn how to crochet, you're welcome to come and be a part. No questions asked. We're not going to ask you for any contributions for the church or anything like that. It's just a time of fellowship and learning how to crochet, or if you have sewing questions and that type of thing. But and we call it needles and things. And one of the things that they have done most recently is they have provided about a dozen backpacks to the East Point Police Department to give to kids that they have to take out of not so nice situations. We don't like for that to happen. But the backpack has like a stuffed animal, a blanket, and some crayons and a coloring book, so that it gives the child a little bit of something to hold on to if they have to get taken out of their family home. I know the police department doesn't like to do that. We don't like that it happens, but we do know that it does happen. And we're trying to help make that transition for those kids a little bit easier. But other than that, I think we're good. Always good to see everybody. I miss hosting the meeting at our church fellowship hall. But thanks for letting me be a part, and y'all have a great week.
Thank you, Robbie. And we miss you too very much. I think everybody misses the in-person. So probably be having a couple discussions to see when we'll be moving back to the in-person meetings at the church. So, but we appreciate everything you do and everything the church does for the community. And thank you very much. And that's for the Jefferson Avenue Baptist Church. I forgot to say that just in case we have some new people on the line. Thank you. All right, and our last but not least, we have Lauren Clayton and Michelle Kiernan, if I said that right. These are the development managers for Industrial Realty and the IRG land use attorney. So I'll turn it over to you guys for your introduction, if you can hopefully unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Barbara, for giving us the time to be here tonight. So my name is Lauren Clayton. I am a land use attorney, and I'm here on behalf of IRG. They are actually in town today, and they were here a few weeks ago, and we met with River Park, and they're trying to revitalize the old Owens, Illinois site. So I'm gonna kick it off to Michelle and let her introduce the company, and then tell you guys what the plans are. And remember, everything is conceptual right now. And Barbara, do you have that rendering, or did you want me to do a share screen when Michelle wants to present it?
I have it, but if you can do a share screen, I think I gave you the access to, I said anybody can share.
Okay, no, perfect. Okay, I'll just go ahead and let Michelle start, and I'll pull it up when she tells me to.
Okay.
First of all, I just wanted to thank you guys for allowing me the time to come meet with you folks. As Lauren mentioned, we've been trying to reach out to the neighbors of the former Owens, Illinois glass plant, which many of you know at the base of Sylvan Road, right up against Highway 85. Our company is looking to purchase the site. We have had it under contract for a while and exploring different development or redevelopment opportunities. My company owns about 100 million square feet in 30 states, and we've really made our mark as one of the we are nationally recognized for our adaptive reuse of industrial buildings. I did not know this until a recent presentation, but IRG is actually one of the largest owners of former GM manufacturing plants. And what we do is we take challenged industrial sites, whether they are former headquarters, former manufacturing plants that have remained vacant, buildings with blight, environmentally challenged buildings, and with the help of our various talented team members, we've been able to reuse, readapt, clean up those buildings and release them to the types of businesses that are in demand. We really take job creation, stewardship, and community very seriously. While 44 million square feet of our portfolio is in Ohio, where we are based, the balance of that is spread throughout the country. And so when we are entering a market such as East Point, we really make a point of reaching out to the community. We try to hire locally, and depending on the state, county, city, try to get involved with local job training, work development, programs, so that we can help hire the types of employees that the tenants coming into that market are looking for. As you may be familiar with the site, it's about 1 million square feet. The biggest eyesore and the biggest environmental challenge is taking down that glass plant. And that would be our first step. Obviously, we would need a demolition permit for that. And there are some various steps that we need to go through with zoning to get permission to do so. But we plan on taking down those buildings and beginning the soil remediation immediately. There are a couple of outbuildings that we've noticed have been broken into. There have been squatters living in a couple of those buildings. We'd like to immediately get rid of those so that it doesn't attract more of the same. Our long-term goal is to maintain about 700,000 square feet on the north side of the property that is right up against the buildings used by Peachy Parking, and hopefully be able to make the repairs needed and demise that building to allow, instead of just one user, 3 or 4 users. We think that we could lay out very well in those buildings. Our long-term goal is to add another 2 buildings comprised of 250,000 square feet each. And of course, once we've taken down the glass plant and we've built the new buildings, of course, improving the facade of the existing building, as well as improving the landscaping. We haven't gone through the entire process. This is obviously conceptual. Lauren, I don't know if you can share the slide now. And those plans may change as the market may dictate. We don't just develop industrial properties. We have taken industrial properties and repurposed them, but due to the geographical constraints of this particular project, it abutting the freeway, we think that industrial is the highest and best use. We aren't looking to re-tenant with a manufacturer, but most likely warehouse and distribution, which, those types of tenants would see this as a very prime location near the airport and near with immediate freeway access. Logistically speaking, and I heard mention of, or I saw a couple of comments from Jefferson Park neighbors and truck traffic, this location being right up against the freeway, it's an easy on, easy off. We haven't been through the entire process. I would imagine that there's probably some signaling or something that would be done, and we would, look to contain the traffic in that area. So this is really just kind of an opportunity for us to introduce ourselves, let you know a little bit about us, what we plan on doing, and then get feedback on, what you think of the site, what you would like to see there. One thing that I didn't mention, I really focused on the industrial, but if you notice closer to the bottom of Sylvan Road, there are some opportunities there for some commercial redevelopment, whether it be a sit-down restaurant or limited service hotel, or perhaps some medical office or some other commercial space. We don't know what those uses are yet. We really won't until we put up our signs and start marketing the building, but or the property. But as I alluded to earlier, we don't just do industrial. So as the market demands, we are certainly exploring other commercial uses for the site.
Okay, thank you. It looks like we had a question to see if there was any data center interests.
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know that based on the layout of the site that we would have enough parking for a data center, but like I said, I don't know if there is demand there, and we won't really know until we're allowed to go out and market the property.
All right, and then one more question, because I do want to clarify a lot of we had talked before this meeting, and this was more of an introduction. And then what I plan on doing is getting some specific information from the IRG and the industrial, the IRG group. And then I will send that out via an email blast. And then that way we can get a lot of questions. We can gather them up, and then you guys can respond to those.
Sure. I can send out, we have some marketing materials that kind of lay out who we are and what we do, and provide some case studies that everyone might find beneficial.
Okay. Yeah, because you have not gone through the permitting process or anything like that. This is just an
It's really more of an introduction. I mean, we are well, there is a process, and that's kind of why we hired Lauren and her firm to help us with that process. We know there are studies and certain deliverables as part of that process, but rather than, advertise a public hearing and, that is the way that the neighborhoods find out what we plan to do there. We always find it helpful to kind of, talk to the community voluntarily and upfront before we get too far down the line.
Okay. Well, I do appreciate that. It looks like Mayor Ingram, do you have a question?
Not a question, but I feel like I should make a statement since myself and 2 council members are online to make clear to the residents that this is my first time hearing about this. And so I don't want the residents to think that this is a decision that has already been made by council, or there's been some indication of support or non-support as it relates to this project. I know the community is aware of the work that we've done around industrialization. I believe this site is a non-conforming use site. It's been closed for a number of years, so there will absolutely be a process that will have to be brought before the council. The stream near this location is been designated as an impaired stream by the Environmental Protection Department of the state of Georgia. And the city of East Point is now having to provide a plan to actually pay to remediate area that was polluted based upon uses in this area. So as this moves forward, I'm not even sure again what it is or the concept. It hasn't been introduced to me, and I don't think it's been introduced to Councilmember Renee or Councilmember Callaway. So I just wanted to make sure that that's clear since we are here and this introduction is being made. I'd be interested to know when you talk about 3 or 4 different users and you keep talking about uses, what types of users? I think you said industrial, warehouse, distribution. There is residential area definitely near there. And we have learned even now their trucks, tractor trailer trucks, I'm not sure if you heard that earlier or seen it in the comments, are riding through Jefferson Park neighborhood. So trucks don't always do what they're supposed to do. And I also know that in that area, the city of Hateville doesn't allow trucks on certain portions over there. And so I just wanted to make clear to the residents that this is the first I'm hearing of it and haven't received any information about it. It hasn't been introduced to me, but they're here with the community. But I felt compelled to say that this isn't something that I have indicated that I support or that we move forward and made a decision without having input from our residents. I agree, we do have enough warehouses and industrial uses within our city. We have a number of industrial areas that were created in this city. The history of industrialization of this city is tied to redlining and environmental pollution and making Black people live, even in this area, near 3 fertilizer plants, an oil plant, and a chemical plant. And it was called Stink Town. So I am committed to ensuring as we move forward that there's just industry, that it is equitable industrial land use, that it is higher and better use for land, especially in this area that is not an industrial district at this point, and that we definitely have residential input. We've already received quite a number of complaints and concerns shared by the River Park community that's immediately adjacent to it. And so this idea of spreading this to other areas, I'm glad I'm at the meeting tonight so I can get the introduction and hear about what they're considering, but know again that there is a process and there has been no indication by this council. I see the concerns in the box about warehouses and industrial uses. We have been committed to that work and worked really hard last year around that. And so know that that level of commitment and resolve around ensuring equitable industrial land use in this city, that environment and uses that are environmentally just and don't actually choose profit over our people and leave pollution for the city to pay to clean up. with taxpayers' dollars and then have to find them to actually recoup that money, or maybe we can recoup it from the new owner. So I just felt compelled to put that on the record. State that at the meeting right now. I'm talking about on the record as if I'm in a meeting, but definitely wanted to share that because, again, first time I'm hearing about it.
Well, and I think, you know, we recognize that there is a process, and I believe I stated that this is just kind of more of we want to hear from the residents. You mentioned a couple of things about the creek and chemicals and those types of pollutants. I believe I said from the beginning that this would probably be warehouse and distribution. And we have a reputation of cleaning up environmental waste. And one of the first tasks that we would undertake is doing the soil remediation, cleaning the soil, cleaning the site left behind by OI. And it's also important to us that we are creating jobs. We are interested in creating higher paying jobs. We've reached out to Strive Atlanta to talk about a possible partnership with them. We have reached out to one of the residents of River Park, who also is involved with workforce development. So we are very interested in hiring local contractors, local vendors, and providing the types of jobs that will help elevate the community members. A couple of other things that I should point out about the site, because of the past industrial use, meaning manufacturing, and the pollutants caused by that, it is not possible or feasible to build any type of residential or multifamily use on the site. I just want to make that clear. I saw a question come up about where the residences are. There is peachy parking to the north of us before you abut actual single family homes. To the west of us, beyond a landscape buffer that goes the length of the property, there is Section 8 housing to the west of the property. And then to the right, there is more airport parking, and to the south is the freeway.
Michelle, if you don't mind, if we pause for a second, we do have two hands raised. We have Tom Calloway and Joshua McCoy. I think Tom Calloway's hand was up first, or yep, okay.
Thank you for recognizing me. And a couple of things. You know, there is a process, yes. Part of that process would require a use permit that would then go through planning and zoning and then come before the city council. So there's certainly that part of the process. That's, you know, that, so we will see more before this is decided upon. Number two, you know, Hapeville rezone, they are just on the other side. They rezone their, that from parking lot type uses to mixed use. They're looking and believe that they can develop over there as residential bars and restaurants. So when we talk about highest and best use, the highest and best use from a city standpoint, in our opinion, because we only have limited land, is a more denser type development. Number three, we as a city are looking at our discontinued, disused industrial sites, and we are looking and targeting those for rezoning. They're more appropriate zoning uses that are close to residential areas. The reason for that is because they're not currently being used, they will not fall into the non-conforming use and then be able to continue operations. So the best time to make a change is when, you know, there's not an existing company there that you're going to put out or cause issues for, but when it's a disused site. Number four, when we talk about environmental, as it was mentioned, you know, the environmental cleanup on an industrial site to a warehouse site, as she mentioned, you said, well, you couldn't do residential or commercial because they require higher cleanup. If you're going from an industrial to another industrial use, the cleanup does not have to be as done as well. There are higher standards when it comes to residential and commercial. To say that it can't be done, I think is inaccurate. I think which is more accurate is it's not commercially viable to clean up that site. And potentially this company put commercial or residential there. The reality is we have received a Brownfield study grant. We are one of only 3 cities in the state of Georgia to get one. College Park was another. We are aggressively looking and identifying sites. So there are ways that this could be cleaned up and put back into use using EPA, Brownfield funds. We have been really, and to the mayor's credit and to Councilwoman Renee's credit, we have been working very, very closely and diligently with the EPA, and we have started building a very, very strong relationship with them, not only around this, but also around opportunity zones. So there's quite a number of things that we are looking to do. So to say that it can't be developed into commercial and residential, I don't think is necessarily accurate. What might be more accurate is that particular developers develop particular things and it's not necessarily in their wheelhouse, or that particular developer may not be willing to do that. So we do realize this site has some challenges, but we believe we can get over those hurdles. We believe that we can secure federal funding after our EPA Brownfield study grant to actually get some cleanup grants. And and we also believe that there are several sites, I'm not just targeting this one, but we believe there are several sites within our city that are disused and underused former industrial sites that we are looking very closely at rezoning so that they can actually achieve what we believe will be their highest and best use. I did see a comment about the overproliferation of warehouses in our city. The reality is, because of where property values are in our location, warehouses are a viable option because they're being pushed out of Atlanta. They're being pushed out of other areas because the real estate just is, the amount of acreage you need is not commercially viable operations. And so they're trying to move into East Point. But in 3 to 5 years, if we fill up all of our open space with warehouses, we are not going to be able to put in things that we so deservedly need, which I believe is some multifamily mixed use and other things. So that's
Councilman Callaway, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but we do have a few other hands raised.
Yeah.
Were you summarizing? Okay, perfect.
All right, thank you so much.
Joshua, thank you. Thank you. Joshua, did you have something you would like to add? Hang on, let me.
While he's waiting to join, there was something that.
Hang on, Michelle, if you don't mind. I just unmuted him. Okay, thank you.
Thank
there
you,
you go,
Jennifer.
Joshua.
Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much. And I think Councilmember Callaway covered many of the points that I would raise. One question that I have is if you could give us the full name, maybe I missed it, of your organization. The second thing is I'd like to suggest Councilmember Callaway, Councilmember Renee, the mayor, have all worked with Kairos, who is developing another spot. It's a completely different scenario. But given that this is the first time they've heard of this development, I would like to suggest that potentially y'all work with them, because they have all these other things going on as far from the environmental development, remediation and cleanup and ongoing things, so we can make this development something that's commercial and residential, something that we sorely need from a density standpoint and from a development standpoint. Also, the other thing is, I think it's great that y'all are coming in and looking at developing and local vendors and so on and so forth. I think we all very much support that. I think it's just the specific direction is something that if you're asking for residential input, I know you heard from our mayor and from our one of our council members. So as a resident of this area and of the city, I would just say that we're looking at something that's in a completely different direction, something that actually improves the lives of people who live here.
Yeah.
All right.
And
I do,
wait, Barbara, we had, sorry,
do-
hang on. I'm trying to give everybody a chance, and Michelle, Councilman Renee's hand was up also. So the people that had their hands raised, I'm trying to give them an opportunity to speak. Councilman Renee?
respond to at least one of those comments because both of the previous speakers mentioned residential. I need to make it clear that there is a deed restricting residential development on that site. So as much as I appreciate the comment, residential can't be built on that site. Go on, woman.
Thank you. And I want to address that part of it, but I will address this. Having a lot of warehouses and industrial plants like this with tractor trailers going in and out of these residential neighborhoods is not safe. A lot of times people want to look at warehouses as, oh, they bring money or taxpayers' dollars, but a lot of times they do not. I'm kind of frustrated with this process because we were not aware of this project at all. However, when the previous buyer wanted to buy that, Hateville residents, which is right across from them, if you kind of understand where the location, they are our neighbors. They also do not want a warehouse right there in the residential neighborhood. I know that IRG has said that it is easy access to the interstate and so forth and so on. But I think a shopping center with bars and restaurants, where walking distance from residential neighborhoods and people could get in and out, to have visitors who come into the city when you could take your family members in evening, those are the kind of things that I vision. What happens is you also have to take a look at what warehouse pays. A lot of times warehouses, they don't pay health care. And they do not pay standard average wage, a living wage, where people who even live in the city of East Point will not be able to work there and live there. I mean, and get a decent pay where they can live in the city. So I'm also concerned about, there are a lot of concerns that I have about warehouse living. And then also in about 5 to 6 years, we're looking for warehouses to do a lot of automations where they won't be hiring a lot of people from your local area anyway. So these are some of the things I want you to consider. I'm not going to belabor the point, but mayor and council was right. There are ways that they could build residential and mixed use on that particular property. And I yield, and thank you for allowing me to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Renee. I would just like to remind everyone, this absolutely has not gone through the permit process. So if everyone doesn't mind, hopefully you guys have gotten some feedback. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it's totally positive at the moment, but since you do have to go through the process and it will go through the city council and everything like that, I'm hoping you got a little bit of feedback in what you need, but obviously we could probably stop here since it's going to have to go through the permit process.
Absolutely. Just, if you would like to assemble the questions, and we'd be happy to respond. Several of the questions do have definitive answers, and I'd be more than happy to get back to you with all of that.
Absolutely.
And I thank you all for your time.
Thank you. And thank you, Mayor and council members and Joshua for stepping in and giving that feedback. So I appreciate the introduction, and hopefully you have some kind of direction in where we're going.
Have a good night.
Thank you. All right. So finally, council, Mayor, did you have anything before I went? We actually have a proposed bylaw change for Jefferson Park neighborhood bylaws, but I didn't want to cut anyone off as far as the council or the mayor. Good. Okay. Well, I have added the link for the bylaws. And Jennifer, are you ready to do a poll whenever, after I discuss this? So what we have done is we sent out via email blast a couple months ago. We've gone through the administrative process to change the bylaws. And really what we're doing is just changing the bylaws to reflect that the way that we're operating right now. There's some changes. Everything that was changed was reviewed by the board actually over the past year and a half. We started doing this January of last year. And it's just to kind of clean up some of the verbiage. We also wanted to make it so that the board did not completely be off before a brand new board came on. So we're trying to like stipend the membership on the board. So I put the link to that. Everyone should have had an opportunity over the past couple months to look at it. I have not had any comments or questions or concerns from anyone in order to take that into consideration as far as changes. So I just need to be able to ratify the JPNA board rules in order to reflect those changes. And I'm happy to go through those, but if you guys have any questions, you can reach out. But I would like to do a poll, and if we can just get a vote to approve these bylaws and for them to be ratified, then I'll assume that that everyone approves them. And then if we get a vote that says, you know, that you don't approve of them, then of course we'll go through the administrative process again and answer those questions. And maybe that might be the way it has to be done, because I don't know. Like I said, nobody really reached out to me. But again, we do have elections in November, so we need a president, a vice president. We need a lot of people on the board. I will be happy to stay on as president if you guys would like me to, but I will definitely not fight if somebody wants to step up and become the president. And I'll be on the board if you guys wanted me to. So that's one of the changes we made in the bylaws. So you're welcome, Mr. Callaway. Thank you, council member. We appreciate your feedback. So Jennifer, if you'll put up the poll, what I'm going to ask everyone is to vote on the changes. If you approve of the changes on the bylaws, according to anything that's underlined is new language, and anything that's strike through is deleted language. But again, so if we can get a majority of you guys to vote that are on this call, then we can get these ratified and be updated more to what how we're actually operating. And I'll leave that up just for a second. And with that, again, I want to thank the mayor for being here. I'm actually really glad that you guys were here so that we could kind of get that clarified. And it looks like we have 17.
So we have 100% of the votes are in.
Yeah,
we have
22. Okay, good.
Yep.
All right, so that means the bylaws have been approved and passed, and I appreciate everyone for doing that. And we will go ahead and keep that so that I can update the bylaws. And then as long as no one else has any other questions, I will ask for a motion to adjourn. I thank everyone for being here.
Motion.
Okay, Jennifer, thank you. Do I have a second?
Robbie seconds.
All right. All right. All in favor. I will see you guys at the next meeting. Thank you so much and have a good night.